I swore we had the Pinterest perfect life. Two beautiful kids, a goofy golden retriever named Gus, and a wide front porch with a swing that creaked in a way that sounded like home. We were the couple other people pointed to at barbecues, the ones who still held hands during movies, whispering jokes only we understood. Our life was a carefully curated collection of happy moments, framed and mounted on the wall for everyone to admire. Then one single solitary Instagram DM slid into my inbox, and the entire picture of our life didn't just crack. It shattered into a million unrecognizable pieces of cheap, sharp glass. The message wasn't aggressive, or even overtly cruel. It was 3 simple words. You should know. And beneath it, a link. That link was a detonator. It turns out my husband Josh wasn't just working late a few nights a week. He wasn't just tired or stressed. He had meticulously constructed an entire second life. A universe of lies so twisted and elaborate, it could have been a hit Netflix limited series. But I didn't just stumble upon his secret world. I didn't just uncover it. I took a match to the whole thing. I built a bonfire from the wreckage and broadcast it for the world to see. And yeah, he moved back in with his mom. My name's Sarah. I'm 34, a marketing director, and until recently, the undisputed queen of color-coded calendars and flawlessly executed 5-year plans. Everything in my life was organized, optimized, and on track. Josh and I were the centerpiece of that plan, the sun around which all other planets orbited. We met during freshman orientation a lifetime ago. He was leaning against a pillar in the student union, looking impossibly cool in a faded band t-shirt, and quoted Jack Kerouac's On the Road at me. He swore on a stack of second-hand paperbacks that he'd never own a TV, that he wanted to see the world from the window of a beat-up van, and that conformity was a cage. I was smitten. His rebellion felt like a promise. 12 years, 2 kids, and a mortgage later, the van had become a Volvo XC90, but the foundation felt solid, or so I believed. We had a whole library of inside jokes about gas station sushi from a road trip through Arizona in our 20s, and a shared Spotify playlist called Road Trips and Forever that we were still adding to. It was our secret language, a soundtrack to our history. That kind of history, that deep layered comfort, can really lull you into thinking you're safe, that you're untouchable. It becomes a thick, cozy blanket that's so warm you don't notice the cold draft seeping in from under the door. Then came the tiny shifts, the almost imperceptible changes you dismiss as paranoia. Started with his phone. It used to be a communal object, left on the kitchen counter, used by me to look up a recipe or by the kids to play a game. Suddenly it was attached to his hand. He began tilting the screen away from me with a slick, practiced movement, like a card sharp hiding an ace. If I glanced over, he'd lock it instantly. Work stuff, babe. Super boring, he'd say, but his eyes would flick to the corner of the room, a nervous tick I'd never seen before. One night I asked him who he was texting so furiously, and he snapped, "God, Sarah, can I have a little privacy? My boss doesn't need you reading my emails." He made me feel like I was the one who was snooping, the one who was violating his trust when I had just glanced over. He started having client dinners that ran late, coming home smelling of a perfume that wasn't mine, something spicy and floral, completely unlike the clean, citrusy scent I wore, and an expensive whiskey he never drank at home. He'd stumble in, claiming the team had celebrated a big win, but his stories were full of holes, vague details that didn't quite add up. I told myself I was being crazy, that the stress of my new promotion was making me invent problems. I was the one with the trust issues, right? I was projecting. I was turning into that wife I swore I'd never be. That carefully constructed illusion shattered on a Tuesday night. I woke up at 3 a.m. to a room painted in the neon glow of his phone screen. He was sound asleep, snoring softly next to me, but a notification had lit up the darkness. My heart hammered against my ribs, a frantic drumbeat in the quiet house. For a full minute I just stared, telling myself to roll over, to go back to sleep, to trust him. But I couldn't. I leaned over, my breath held tight in my chest, squinting at the screen. A message from a name I didn't recognize, a woman named Jessica. "Can't wait to see you tomorrow, same hotel?" I didn't sleep for the rest of the night. I just stared at the ceiling fan, watching the blades slice through the dark, feeling my stomach drop like the first terrifying dip on a roller coaster you're not sure you strapped into correctly. The foundation of my perfect life had just dissolved into quicksand. The next morning, as he showered, humming off-key to a song from our Road Trips and Forever playlist, a song we danced to at our wedding, I did what any self-respecting, heartbroken millennial with a shattered sense of reality does. I went full digital detective. I started with the obvious. Instagram. His page was squeaky clean. Family photos, pictures of Gus, and a heartfelt anniversary post from 2 months prior that now read like pure satire. Facebook. The same. But my paranoia was a finely honed instrument now. I went to the tagged photos section. Nothing. Then a flicker of an idea. I checked the profiles of his recently added friends. And there she was. Jessica _ Her profile was private, but her bio was public. Our nurse. Dog mom. Living for the moment. And we had one mutual friend, Josh. My hands were trembling so much I could barely hold my phone steady. On a hunch, a desperate leap of logic, I checked a public business page for the local hospital, St. Luke's. They had posted a Nurse of the Month feature 2 weeks ago. I scrolled back, my heart pounding with each flick of my thumb. It was her. And in the comments, a friend had tagged her personal, public photography page. Bingo. Her photography page was mostly artsy shots of sunsets and her dog. My stomach was in knots. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe it was all an innocent misunderstanding. Then I saw it. A post from 3 weeks ago. A gallery of photos captioned, "Birthday weekend with my favorite doc." In the third picture, there he was. My Josh. His arm was snug around her waist, his smile wider and more carefree than I'd seen it in years. He was wearing a jacket I'd never seen before, and his St. Luke's hospital badge was glinting on the lapel. But the real gut punch, the detail that made the air leave my lungs in a painful rush, was the headboard behind them. A distinctive rustic wood pattern. The exact same one from the selfie he'd sent me 2 Fridays ago, claiming he was exhausted from a late night at the conference. While he was still in the shower, the water running, I grabbed his laptop from his briefcase. My fingers flew across the keyboard. I opened Chrome and hit Command-Shift-T, the shortcut to restore recently closed tabs. And there it was. His entire secret life, exploding onto the screen in a horrifying mosaic of betrayal. Boom. Every incognito tab he'd ever closed. There were Airbnb receipts for boutique hotels in our own city. For weekends he was supposedly visiting his sick parents. There were Venmo payments to a dozen different women, labeled with sickeningly cheerful emojis and words like massage, dinner, and fun. And then I found the real monster. A second Facebook profile under the name Marcus Strong. Marcus was everything my dorky, Kerouac quoting Josh wasn't. His bio read, entrepreneur, investor, world traveler. Marcus had over 800 friends, mostly women in their early 20s. He posted photos of himself on boats I didn't know he'd been on, wearing expensive watches I'd never seen on my husband's wrist, holding champagne flutes in rooftop bars I didn't know existed in our city. He was living a completely separate, unbelievably flashy, and utterly fraudulent life. The cherry on top of this nightmare Sunday was a Google Drive folder. It was titled simply, Insurance. My blood ran cold. Inside was a single terrifyingly organized spreadsheet. It had multiple tabs. One was labeled GFs. Another was labeled Wife. On the GFs tab was a list of names, including Jessica's. There were columns for dates, gifts purchased, bra sizes, favorite restaurants, their kids' names, their work schedules, and notes on their personalities. Loves compliments on her intelligence, one note said. Gets insecure if you don't text back within the hour, said another. It was a playbook for his infidelity, a sociopath's guide to emotional manipulation. Then, with a feeling of pure dread, I clicked on the Wife tab. It was me. My name was highlighted in a sickly, clinical yellow, like a line item in a budget. All my data was there. Our anniversary, my birthday, my ring size, my favorite wine, my dress size, even a section titled Weaknesses, which listed my deepest fears I'd shared with him in confidence. He had quantified me. He had turned our entire life, our history, our vulnerabilities into a series of data points to be managed and exploited. I closed the laptop, my hands shaking so badly I could barely control them. A wave of nausea washed over me. I stumbled to the bathroom and threw up, the acid taste of betrayal burning my throat. But then, as I splashed cold water on my face and looked at my reflection, something else kicked in. The grief and the shock receded, and in their place rose a cold, diamond-hard rage. I opened the Notes app on my own phone and started a new list. I titled it Evidence. My mind went into autopilot. Cold. Precise. The marketing director took over. I spent the next 4 days living a double life of my own. By day, I was the perfect wife and mother, packing lunches with little smiley faces drawn on the sandwich bags, discussing weekend plans to go apple picking, and smiling a smile that didn't reach my eyes. I felt like a spy in my own home. One evening, he came up behind me while I was doing dishes and wrapped his arms around my waist. "Everything okay, babe? You seem distant," he murmured into my hair. I had to physically stop my body from flinching. I turned around, forced a smile, and said, "Just tired. Long week." Inside, I was screaming. By night, after he was asleep, I was an archivist of my own destruction. I spent hours screenshotting everything, the hotel invoices, the DMs from Marcus Strong's profile, the two-factor authentication codes he had carelessly saved in a text file, the Venmo transactions, and of course the spreadsheet. Especially the spreadsheet. I created a burner Instagram account. The username came to me in a flash of bitter inspiration at Josh the Snake is Taken. I spent an entire evening mocking up the perfect Instagram carousel. Each slide a surgical strike designed for maximum impact. Slide 1. Our beautiful, smiling wedding photo, full of hope and lies. Slide 2. A crisp, clear screenshot of the spreadsheet, with the GFs and wife tabs clearly visible. My own name highlighted in that sickening yellow. Slide 3. The hotel mirror selfie he'd sent me, but this time I'd circled Jessica's faint reflection in the glass, a ghost at our feast. I added slides of the Airbnb receipts that corresponded to his work trips, and a particularly damning exchange from his Marcus Strong profile. I wrote the caption short and devastating. If your husband or boyfriend is Dr. Josh Jensen, 34, a cardiologist at St. Luke's Hospital, you might want to swipe for some receipts. I did. Happy Wednesday. I waited. I chose our anniversary and I waited for the exact minute, 8:03 p.m. The time printed on our marriage certificate, the moment our life together officially began. It felt fitting for it to be the exact moment his other life officially ended. He strolled into the restaurant, a full 2 hours late, holding a single sad-looking rose that was already starting to wilt. He launched into his excuse. Traffic, babe, you wouldn't believe it, the whole freeway was a parking lot. He hadn't even finished the sentence when the first ping echoed from his phone on the table. Then another. And another. A cascade of notifications, each one a nail in his coffin. I watched his face cycle through the stages of destruction in real time. First, confusion as he glanced at the notifications. Then, a dawning panic as he saw the Instagram icon. And finally, pure unadulterated horror as he unlocked his phone and saw my post. His jaw went slack. The color drained from his face. He clawed for his phone, fumbling with it like it was a live grenade. I just took a slow, deliberate sip of my Pinot Noir. It felt like I was watching the world in slow-motion bullet time. By the time the waiter placed our tiramisu, our traditional anniversary dessert, on the table, his world had exploded. The comments were a wildfire. His own sister was the first. WTF Josh. Call me right now. A college buddy of his chimed in. Dude, you're literally trending on Reddit. Our next-door neighbor, the one who always borrowed our lawnmower, simply dropped a single crying laughing emoji. The hospital's HR director didn't comment, but a text message flashed on his screen that I could read upside down. Dr. Jensen, do not come into the hospital tomorrow. Consider yourself on leave pending a full investigation. The internet, as it turns out, does not miss a thing. Within the hour, Jessica's actual boyfriend, yep, she had one of those too, stitched my post with a video of his own. He was sitting in his car looking shell-shocked. The title, looks like my girlfriend and I are both getting played by it. Josh the Snake is Taken. It was a viral feedback loop of humiliation. Josh was ghost white. He looked like he'd seen a ghost. He mumbled something about needing air, and stumbled out of the restaurant, leaving his wallet and the sad rose on the table. I paid the bill, Ubered home, and had the locksmith on speed dial before I even walked through the door. I took all of his expensive golf clubs out of the garage and lined them up on the front lawn like a row of sad metallic croquet wickets, with a sign that said, free to a good non-lying home. By the next morning, my post had 1.2 million views and a DM from a BuzzFeed reporter in my burner account's inbox. Josh's mom left me a voicemail. It was a masterclass in manipulative snot crying. Sarah, how could you? She wailed between sobs. How could you do this to my son? To your family? This public humiliation? He's a good man. I didn't call her back. I just texted her a single perfect screenshot of the spreadsheet, with my section and the GF section both visible. The response was silence. She hasn't called back since. On Sunday, the hospital issued a formal press release announcing that Dr. Josh Jensen was on indefinite administrative leave for violating the institution's code of moral conduct. On Monday, the private practice group chat he was in got leaked. Someone screenshot his pathetic plea. Hey guys, in a bit of a jam here. Wondering if anyone could spot me $20,000 for some legal fees. The response was a sea of blue bubbles. Zero takers. Reddit turned the whole saga into a mega thread. They called it the spreadsheet spanking. My favorite piece of fan art was a drawing of Josh's face photoshopped onto a cartoon snake, slithering away from a giant, sparkling wedding ring. Still my phone's lock screen. If this particular brand of public service justice is giving you life, do me a favor and hit that like button so the YouTube algorithm shows it to more people who need the serotonin spike. And yeah, go ahead and subscribe because part 2 is where I stop crying into my wine and start buying myself flowers, and actually mean it. The first week post-viral was a blur. I slept on my best friend's couch, buried under a weighted blanket she bought me. My phone was a constant source of both horror and validation. I'd cry into pints of Halo Top ice cream while anonymous strangers on TikTok were stitching my story, calling me the queen of receipts and the CEO of revenge. It was a weird flex, but honestly in those first few days I'll take it. It was a strange, disorienting duality. My private life was a smoking crater, but my public persona was some kind of folk hero. It felt better than feeling like a victim. Therapy came next. I knew I couldn't navigate this alone. I found a woman named Priya who specialized in betrayal trauma. In our first session, she didn't ask me what happened. She'd already read the news articles. Her first question was, "Beyond the rage, what do you want to feel?" I thought about it for a long time, the silence stretching out in her calm, quiet office. I finally said, "Light. I want to feel light. Like I can breathe again without checking Find My Friends or wondering who is on the other end of a text message." So we started small. She encouraged me to do things that were just for me, things that Josh had no part in, no memory associated with. I signed up for a pottery class. My first few bowls were wonky, lopsided things that looked more like ashtrays, but they were mine. I had made them with my own 2 hands. I signed up for a 5K for a local animal shelter and trained for it, pounding the pavement every morning before the sun came up, feeling the burn in my lungs turning into strength. I enrolled in a beginner's French course, mostly because Josh had always mocked my accent whenever I tried to speak it. Priya said, "Your story was hijacked. He made you a character in his narrative. It's yours to rewrite, one page at a time." So I opened a new Instagram at The Receipt Wife. It wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about recovery. Month 2 I moved into my own place. A sun-drenched studio apartment with huge windows and a slightly crooked floor that made me smile. I filled the fire escape with pots of basil, mint, and one incredibly stubborn tomato plant. It felt symbolic. I learned how to make a perfect carbonara for one, and I only cried into the pan once. It was a tear of release, not sadness. A cleansing. Month 3 was the turning point. I pitched a workshop to the communications department at my alma mater. The title was Digital Consent in Healthy Relationships, Protecting Yourself in the Information Age. I was terrified no one would sign up. It sold out in 4 hours. Standing in that lecture hall, looking out at a sea of young, eager faces, I realized that the spreadsheet didn't define me. My comeback did. I told them about the importance of digital boundaries, about how trust is an action, not a feeling. I explained that a partner who needs to hide their life from you isn't being private. They are being secretive. In that moment, I was more than a scorned wife. I was more than a line item in some man's sick accounting of his life. And Josh? He lives in his parents' basement. He was officially fired for moral turpitude. He lost his medical license after several other women came forward to the board with their own stories, backed by their own receipts. I hear from a mutual friend that he spends his days playing video games and delivering for DoorDash in his mom's 10-year-old Corolla. His mom still watches all my Instagram stories and reacts with a single sad crying emoji every single time. I let her. It's a quiet, pathetic little reminder of the empire I brought down with a single Instagram post. I'm dating again. It's different now. It's slow. It's just coffee dates, no grand gestures, and absolutely no spreadsheets. I recently went on a date with a man who, when his phone buzzed, turned the screen towards me and said, "Sorry, it's just my sister sending me pictures of her ugly cat." It was such a small, simple gesture of transparency, but it felt monumental. It turns out that when you finally truly know your own worth, red flags don't look like quirky little flaws anymore. They look like giant flashing neon bar signs. And you learn to walk away, not in anger, but with the calm certainty that you deserve better. If my story gave you even a flicker of hope, or a feeling of "I can do this too," please slam that subscribe button and drop your own I Left and Thrived story in the comments below. Let's build the loudest, proudest, most supportive breakup group on the entire internet. And always, always remember, sometimes the best closure isn't a conversation, and it isn't forgiveness. It's receipts.